We've poured through reports issued by states on the status of nonprofits. One thing that stands out, nonprofit managers are growing increasingly concerned that government agencies and private donors will not have the ability to carry through on funding. Nonprofit boards have big work ahead. Our Sales Connections expert, Shari Pash, joins us to talk strategic growth. Hi, Shari. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Julie, glad to be here, and I'm excited to talk about board of directors today.
Yeah, so Shari, I know we normally talk about sales training, but board of director work, tell us, how do the two topics converge?
Julie, so many of the organizations that I train and coach with on sales, business development, sponsor development, member development, all these different things often work for a board of directors. And we found that an organization can only grow and thrive and be as good as their board. So a division of my business has kind of morphed into developing thriving boards so that the organization can thrive overall and achieve the goals that we're talking about during our training. So I love the work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's dive right in, because I know you have so much to cover. And like you said, a nonprofit, any organization really, is only as strong as its board of directors. So what does this look like? How can a board develop? And I want to say too, I know that because of the pandemic, we've seen a lot of changes in boards. So we know there's a lot of growth that needs to happen and a lot of development taking place behind the scenes. So what does this look like? Where do they start?
Yeah, definitely. I have clients often say, I just want to do some board training. Because through the pandemic, we've got new people on board, things have changed, things like that. So really, what does board training and development look like? It's got to be customized to every organization, obviously. But one of the big needs for almost everyone is making sure their house is in order. And what that means is to make sure that we've got meeting structure in place, that we've got kind of the governance versus management. I hear from a lot of boards or a lot of organizations where the board maybe isn't in the governance role they need them in. Maybe the HR and staff relationships and those legal aspects, policy manuals, all that stuff. We need to make sure our house is in order first before we get going too far. And a lot of people, I know, because they're new on the boards, we don't want to lose that traction that they may have started before the pandemic. So a lot of people are looking at 18-month strategy plans right now. 3 to 5 years is what we've always done, but we're starting to see we just need the next 18 months because so much has changed. It's for a lot of our nonprofits right now. So a goals session is really important, and it's really key to have these tools for your executive board and your executive director, because without some of these tools, Julie, we've got to avoid mission drift.
Okay. Well, I've heard this before. What is mission drift? I mean, I have an idea, but what is mission drift?
Mission drift is something that can impact all board meetings, executive board or full board meetings, because distractions occur, and often by members who just want that attention, who are, maybe there's a poorly defined project and it's taking on a life of its own. There's so many things that can distract. So I recommend that during board meetings, that often this question may need to be asked: does this activity or discussion matter to the big picture of governing our organization? That's a question. Does this activity or discussion matter to the big picture of governing our organization? So asking that above question, it helps us to focus on what matters. But guess what?
So what if there are differing opinions on the board? What if someone on the board thinks that this particular topic does matter? How do you decide what to focus on?
That's why it's so important that we have the goals in our strategic plan, because we always use that as our protector. We circle back. That's a fantastic idea. Let's put that in the planning for next year. But if you don't have goals and a plan, it's very easy for someone to move your direction, to change your focus. So it's very critical that we have. And when I talk about a goals and strategy plan, it's not something pretty on the shelf. I've got this major plan. Look at all my colorful tabs. It's a working tool that you bring to the meetings, you keep on target, and it takes your organization where you need to go. They're moving into the trend is a one-page strategy plan, strategic plan that talks about your mission, your vision, your goals, your tactics, things like that. So
I like the sound of that. How many organizations watching right now? We won't raise hands, but how many have a beautifully designed strategic plan that has never actually been put to use? It's never been implemented.
Exactly.
Yes, right.
Yeah. So that goal session, some of the things to focus on, I always say take 3 or 4 areas that your board really needs to work on. and determine the focus area for the next 18 months, or if it's 3 years again. Public policy and advocacy, how does our board and organization impact public policy? Do our members even understand our role in advocacy? Brand development, huge through the pandemic. How's your brand changed? What do you need to now communicate to the board? What messaging do you need to create and use? Member development, Julie, every organization that has a board seems to worry about member or donor development, it seems like. Sustainable donors and members, things that are a threat to those. What does engagement mean? So truly important. Diversification, generational, key members.
Especially as we talk about, in the very beginning, we mentioned some of these stats that are coming in state by state about funding levels. And of course, that's a huge concern, particularly for nonprofits, but a lot of organizations are looking at right now. Shari, before we go, one quick thing that you just slightly mentioned, but I want to hear you say it again for our audience. You talk about the diversification, including generations. We have to be looking to the next generations.
Yes, you've got to get the next generation. This is a key piece of diversification for members, for staff, and for board of directors, because we have to prepare for that next generation. And what are you doing with that?
Shari, thank you so much for walking through this with us. You have additional information on your website, including a look at tools for facilitating these strategic board sessions. To see more from Shari, head to WLAJ.com and click Sales Connections.